Good evening. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. Welcome back to Smart Trucking Live. It's good to get to chat with you all again. Muppet, yes, it has been a while. I don't think it's been years. I'm not sure how long it's been, but it has been a while. But it's good to be back. This is a Q&A to start off our renewal of our stream. So we thought we'd start that way. Fred Besmer, hey man, how are you in Utah, God's country? Paul Hudson, greeting from Northern Illinois. Adam Bennett, how are you, man? Jeff Hitchman, good to hear from you in the Buckeye State. Just wondering now, before we start our Q&A, how are you guys all making out? I know that freight's been a little bit scarce for a lot of trucking companies out there, and I just hope you guys are all getting enough miles that you're happy and contented. Fred, I'm sure Gary's keeping you busy enough. So, but about the rest of you, I just wondered how you're all making out.
Adam Bennett already coming in with a $20 donation. Very good to see you back in the chat, my man. Thank you very much for the 20 beans. Adam, talk to us. How have you been, driver?
Thank you, Adam. Yes, how have you been, man? Are you guys all getting your freight, getting your miles? Evan Eisenman, good to see you, man. How are you? I'm probably a little rusty at this, so you guys will have to forgive me, but I'm sure we'll get back into the groove pretty quickly here. So, Q&A, and I just wondered what's been going on with you guys. How are you all making out? Are you getting your miles? Are you noticing that there's less truck traffic out there lately? Now that I don't know, things have been slow for months now. I just wondered if you guys were seeing the effects of that, or nothing's really changing at all. Matthew Thomas in the oil fields. Hey, thank you for joining us. Jay Kramer. How do old guys in their 60s get a CDL? Just like everybody else, man. Just go to school and pass the class. It's not that tough. Evans at Landstar, and I'm more than happy, averaging 323 a mile. I guess you are happy. That's a good move. Landstar has been around a long time. Brianna Walsh. What advice do you have for me to get a high school student like me who wants to get into the trucking industry? Find a carrier that you like the look of, that is close to home, hopefully, that appeals to you, that treats you like a decent human being, and just apply. And you might have to research a few of them, Brianna, but you'll find one that there'll be something that tells you, yeah, this is the right place to start, and just follow that lead. Go with your heart. And a lot of it for me was where they ran. That was important to me. So find out if they're doing the type of work that you want to do, and if they'll train you and get you licensed. And most of the big carriers will these days. Peter, still at company, no more overtime. Yeah, that's Peter. That is just going to be a problem that plagues the industry for years to come.
Kyle S. with the $10 donation, my man. Thank you very much for the $10. Tell me, how are you doing today, driver?
Kyle, thank you. SoCal Sandman. I'm eating a huge piece of pumpkin pie smothered in whipped cream, so I'm pretty awesome at the moment. SoCal, you're making me hungry, among other things. Love pumpkin pie. But I've been following what's going on with your carrier there. It's pretty interesting these days. Maybe we'll have a chance to talk with that, but interesting stuff absorbing Omni there. Big stuff going on. Muppet trucking in Australia, God's country. One of these days I'd love to get over there and try the trucking over there. It's so much different than what we do here. I'm fascinated by it. Jerry Lemons, LTL is hopping with the demise of Yellow. I saw a report from Old Dominion today that said they'd picked up about 6% more freight. They don't know where the rest of it's gone, but it's still being distributed. Negus Prime, not a trucker, but your videos are always interesting to watch. Thank you, Negus. We love doing them. I appreciate you watching. Alan Johnson, any advice from anyone on buying a cab over? Want to know what I'm getting myself into? Well, you're getting into a lot of work if you're going to refurbish one, but I love them. They're simple to work on. I don't know. You'll love it or hate it. You'll love it or hate it. That's just going to be the best way to describe it. I love them myself.
Hamish K, thank you very much for the £1, my friend. I did see you in chat there earlier. Tell me, driver, how are we doing today?
Hamish, good to hear from you again, man. Hope things are going well over there. Jeff Rees, I'd love to have one of those old KW cab overs you guys run in Australia. Those are my favorite. Of all the cab overs, I like the flat top Kenworth 100s with the big double bunk behind. They made Airdyne ones too, but I like the look of the old flat tops myself. Chromehound, my company just screwed over their new yard jockey who won the big company rodeo. The yard guy came in on the weekend and blockaded the place with trailers, dropped low end to end in 2 layers. God. Dirty stuff still going on in trucking.
Adam Bennett with another $20, kicking the stream off strong. Thank you very much for another 20. What are your thoughts on Edison Motors out here in Canada? I already know the answer to this one because we did a video last week on this that we're still working on currently. I'm waiting for them to hit the stock market. Now would be your chance to tell them a little bit about that, Dave.
That's interesting. You should mention that. I was on a video call with Chase from Edison Motors last week, I guess it was, and we had quite a chat. It was very interesting. He's a very bright guy. He's got one of his trucks in Ontario right now, and he's invited me down to drive it in a month or so. I'm really looking forward to that. But it is an amazing concept. These guys, Chase and his partner, are genius at what they've come up with. I'm really excited about it. It's cool as hell.
So Adam, we have a video coming out next Friday is what he's trying to say. He just finished his Zoom interview. What was it?
Last Thursday.
When was it, Dave?
I thought it was last week. We talked.
I was asking you the date. I forgot already. So tune in next Friday. Our next Friday video will be all about Edison Motors.
Looking forward to that. Dean Tate, buy a cab over is buying a bad back. Well, they've got some pretty nice air ride equipment these days. Between the air ride cab, the air ride seats, it's not as bad as it used to be. The air ride back end, they don't have camel back anymore, so they've improved a lot. But still, and if you get a longer wheelbase, that'll help that problem. Brianna wants to know why North America stopped using cab over semis. Well, a lot of the drivers preferred having a hood out in front of them for the protection in a crash. And that was about the only reason. The North American drivers, the newer generation especially, seem to prefer conventionals. I like cab overs myself, fine, but I like the big hood conventionals too. But that was why, just what the drivers wanted more than anything else. And later on, it became a matter of getting fuel mileage. So the big carriers all wanted to get rid of the cab overs in favor of the drop nose trucks. But like JB Hunt, for instance, had an entire fleet of cab overs at one time, and they eventually got rid of all of them. JF Trucker, my favorite video is having money stashed. My favorite video is having the money stashed if court due to wreck, jail pay sucks, correct? They pay. Oh, that's interesting. No, not necessarily, but trucking is a niche industry. If you get into the right part of the industry, and sometimes that takes years, but no, the pay can be very good, but in the interim, it can be very bad as well while you're learning the trade. There's no doubt of that. Adam Bennett just drove by the yellow yard in Orange, California. Been the same for the last 2 months. Trucks and trailers just sitting there. Yeah, I guess they're trying to split up the equipment and sell it, but it's going more slowly than they'd hoped. I am Spartacus. What are your thoughts on driving for Walmart private fleet? They come highly recommended, the Walmart private fleet in the States. It's no hell up here because they subcontracted it out. But in the States, that's one of the jobs to have, is driving for the private fleet at Walmart. Fred Besmer, my knees hurt just thinking about jumping out of a cab over. I always did the Tarzan thing. I'd grab the pole on the side of the cab and kind of swing down and ease my landing so my knees didn't get wrecked. But I know what you mean. Yeah, you can't just jump out of the seat onto the ground. So think of it as a huge yard ornament. SoCal Sandman. No. Is there a semi-truck parking shortage? Brianna, absolutely there is. It's been that way for 20 years, and they just kind of pick away at it. Loves is adding truck stops as fast as they're able to, but Loves never usually have huge parking lots. So, it's always going to be a problem unless the government chooses to address it, especially on the eastern seaboard. If you're not parked by 4 o'clock on the eastern seaboard somewhere, you're generally in trouble. The Aussie truckie. I find it funny we have length restrictions here in Australia, but we have the longest trucks in the world. Yeah, we've got, the way they did it here was they restricted the length of the trailers rather than the entire unit. But yeah, you guys have got a canoe full of real estate to operate in. But I guess you got to go through towns and stuff too, so maybe that's why the restrictions. JF Trucker, I mean you're going to jail video. That is still a problem up here. You've got to be very careful about what you do and how you do it, because these days it's far more easy to end up in jail with your trucking job than it ever has been before. With the insurance companies involved, there's no forgiveness. They're always looking for someone to blame. SoCal says, "Yay, cat! You can hang sheets from the stacks." Yeah, I like the big pipes. My truck's still got the big pipes on it. I know they cost fuel, but I just like the look of them. Night Ranger, Dave, have you talked to the Lettuce King? How's he doing? I chat with him every few weeks or so. He's fairly busy at work right now. He just finished putting away his truck, I understand. He talks to Kathy a fair bit, and I guess his truck is back now wrapped for the winter. But he's doing good. He had plans to move to Arizona this winter, but with the border issues down there with Mexico, he's kind of hesitating off that a little bit, I think. But no, he's doing fine. He's making really good money where he's working right now. He's hauling floats around Toronto by the hour, making really good money. The truck parking shortage is also an issue in Central and South Europe. Stabs. That's interesting. I don't know where they think we're supposed to land at night. They give us the hours of service and tell us we got to park, and then give us nowhere to park. They just haven't thought the whole thing through. I was laughing at Fred Besmer's comment. I'm not as young as I used to do that anymore. No, you or me either, Fred. I know the feeling. Richard Dahl, Love is starting to make bigger parking areas. That's good to know. They're a progressive trucking chain of truck stops. And I used to, back in the day, I always stayed at the big Petros if I could, but Petros seem to have fallen by the wayside now, and Love's is really starting to make a dent in the market. And generally, they're nice, clean truck stops, and that's what I like. Brianna, is car hauling good? Because that's what I want to do. Car hauling still pays quite well, Brianna. You've got to, it's like everything else, there's catches. You've got to be incredibly careful when you're loading to check for any dents or scratches or anything like that. Take pictures, document everything, because the habit with the car haulers is at the other end, they try to cut the transportation costs by finding little marks on the car and blaming it on you. But no, it's still quite lucrative.
Adam Bennett coming in with a whopping $100 donation. Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Adam. He says, Smart Trucking, thank you guys so much. You really helped me out when I started driving 3 years ago. You gave me lots of good, solid information, and I can't thank you enough. Well, this guy must fly rockets for NASA or something, because he seems to be rich. Adam, thank you so much for the $100. We really appreciate that, and we're glad to see you back in the stream today.
Adam, that is great to hear, because that was one of our primary missions with Smart Trucking, because we felt that the driver training from the schools was so poor that we wanted to help. But they just get you the CDL and kick you out in the road, as you know, and we wanted to be able to help in any way we could, because we knew there was so much more to driving a truck for a living. But thank you so much for saying that. Gypsy West, I used to park during the day and get some sleep, and always ran at night because everybody else was in bed and the roads were free. Gypsy, that's a good system, and a lot of guys do that. I was never able to adapt to the working nights and sleeping days things. My body just didn't like it. But a lot of guys swear by that system, and it really works for them. Stabs. It's not uncommon to see trucks parked on the on and off ramps at any spot after 7 p.m. and that's just a disaster waiting to happen. We've had a couple of serious wrecks in the last number of months with guys parked on the ramps and stuff like that, and it's now they're starting to look at it, and it's hard to blame the trucker. He's out of hours. He can't find a place to park. So, but yeah, there's some renewed interest in that problem now after a couple of accidents. Frankfurter. One Swift trainer picked up a brand new Kenworth W900L and a brand new spanking reefer, and he flipped it on the Grapevine. Oh, man. That's, I'm kind of out of touch with new truck prices and equipment, but that's probably $300,000, $400,000 worth of damage. That's just incredible to me. SoCal, I fuel it loves regularly. Good chain. Yeah, I like them too, SoCal. They were hard to find at first, but now they're all over the place, and I think they're a great truck stop chain. Best out there right now, in my opinion. Dan Sharp, are we going back to weekly streams? Sure hope so. Well, we're going to see how this one goes, Dan, but we hope so too. We'll let you know, but we'll see how this goes. Adam Bennett, Smart Trucking, keep me posted on Edison Motors. I believe they're going places. I want to invest. I believe they are too, Adam. So far, they're a privately held company. I don't know if Chase has any plans of going public. I really don't know. But yeah, there'll be a lot of interest in that company. I'm sure he's already had a lot of investor interest in Edison Motors. It's quite the deal. They're doing a great job over there. Yeah, SoCal, they're popping up everywhere nowadays, Dave. I read somewhere SoCal where Love's is having trouble getting building permits from a couple of the counties they're trying to build truck stops in because the locals don't want a truck stop outside their town, and I think that's crazy. I can't understand how these towns that rely on trucks for everything they get don't want to have trucks, or a place for trucks to park. So, I'm mad enough about that I just want to say, well, you know what? You get rid of the truck stop, and we just won't stop there. We'll just truck to the next center. You can come and pick up your freight there. Damn people. Sorry. Frankfurter, yep, $400K the same day he put them plates on. Oh, the price of the truck, $400. I bet you that's right. That's just, it makes me sick. What's amazing is he flipped it on the rig route, and he's a trainer. But Thomas, we know that the trainers, some of them only have like 3 months experience. Like, would you take a guy like that and put him in a $400,000 truck? That was a goofy move to put him in the truck in the first place. I almost feel sorry for him, but he was probably driving like a fool. I don't know how you could flip one of those on the Grapevine, but came down the hill too fast maybe. I don't know.
I just wanted to point out this question from James Owen, seeing as we did a video on this not too long ago. I feel like CPAP is a scam to us truckers. What is your opinion?
I just did a video on that, and I think pretty much the same thing. I can think of one carrier where they were testing their drivers, and every 8 or 9 out of 10 seemed to have sleep apnea, and then they got to buy the machine from the carrier. So, I think there are people that need them, and I think there are people that do well with them, but I also think there are an awful lot of people that don't need them that have one shoved down their throat anyway. It's just another way carriers make money. Yeah, Dan Sharp. I read the same article somewhere about locals fighting against zoning for truck stops. That was it, and my response was the same. If they don't want us there, they shouldn't go including any and all deliveries. Yeah, that's my opinion. They want our help, we want their help. It's a mutual thing. Stabs, here the truck prices are unbelievable. 4-year Scania V8 with high specs would bring more money than it costs new. Really? I don't know if Europe suffers from the same emissions issues that we do over here, but the 2027 emissions regulations are scheduled to increase the price of a truck by another $50,000. And the trucks with the emissions equipment still don't work properly. It's the emissions equipment that's giving them the trouble. Oh, Fred's. Speaking of electric trucks, I seen 3 Nikola trucks driving on I-10. Fred, I believe you even have money invested in that venture, Fred, if I'm correct. I'm still pulling for them, and I see they got like $165 million back out of Trevor Milton. I'm pulling for them. I see a lot of negative comments about them, but I haven't given up on them yet. It's good to know you're seeing them. WB Ball 15, I appreciate Love's only real complaint is the lack of parking volume. 3 closest to me are all limited to 30 spaces. Yeah, traditionally Loves have not been big for parking. They're kind of more like the pilots, but someone there commented now that they're adding more parking, and I think that benefits them. I was sorry to see that the one Loves I came across had a bunch of their parking dedicated strictly for RVs, but oh well, I guess they're part of the market too.
Michael Thompson, thank you very much for the $2 donation, my friend. What on earth happened? This was one of my go-tos, and I assume he's talking about the stream.
Oh, I don't even know what to tell you. We've just been swamped, busy here, and just haven't had the time. Plus summer, plus everything else. So, yeah, we're slow getting back into it, but I'm glad to be getting back into it because I've missed it. So we'll try to keep up the pace again that we used to have at one time. So it's good to be back, I can tell you that. Geo, Love's owned by Walmart. Love's is owned by Walmart? No, I don't think so. I think they're privately held by a family in Oklahoma. I'll check that. Maybe that's changed. But SoCal, I agree. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if you're talking about the Loves or what you're talking about there, SoCal, but yeah, I don't believe that Loves is owned by Walmart, but I could be wrong. Gypsy West, when I worked in California, I used to go over the Grapevine a lot. I've been over there with 130. You've got to know what you're doing. Yeah, I've been over the Grapevine more times than I can count. I used to offload in LA and then run up to Salinas to load. So I know the Grapevine very well. And it's hard to imagine if you're paying attention that you could have a wreck on that, but stuff happens, I guess.
J.R. Waka 1200, hope I'm saying that right, probably butchered that. Love the channel. Thank you very much for the $5 donation, by the way. First timer here. Any advice for a local box truck in Dallas, DFW area?
Dallas-Fort Worth area. Dallas-Fort Worth is a pretty nice area to get around. So I don't think you'll have any trouble there. The traffic is fierce. So you've got to pay attention all the time to the traffic. I don't think you've got to worry about low bridges or narrow downtown streets or anything like that. I think Dallas-Fort Worth is pretty good. Just pay attention to the traffic. They drive fairly crazy in Dallas, and those highways can ice up in the wintertime too. You wouldn't think you'd get ice on the highway in Dallas, but you can. So be mindful of that in the wintertime. But you're in a good spot. There'll be lots of work down there. SoCal Sandman, Love's own Speedco. You know what? I think I knew that. And I always use Speedco. I like, because I could get in and out of there quickly, and it wasn't an arm and a leg, and they always had the oil I wanted, and they always had the filters I wanted. So yeah, I imagine that's right. But they're a good chain too, Speedco. I like them. I used to change it at the Petro years ago, or the TA, but it was just too damn slow. And sometimes they didn't have stuff, so I was happy when Speedco came along. J.R. Wacka. Airsty Transport here in Dallas. Not familiar with them, but good luck. Hang in there. I think you'll enjoy the work. Dallas Fort Worth's a nice area to work. Stabs. They have gone backwards. Simpler turbos, no EGR since... Oh, this is for Europe. No EGR since 2018, only SCR. It seems that our AdBlue Def are more reliable and most been personally only NOx sensor, but got to work that engine hard. So that's interesting. Europe has gotten away from the EGR. God, I'd love to know if their emission standards are the same as what they are over here. Or maybe they're not as severe as what they've got. But yeah, the emissions trucks here just have not been good for us, Stabs. But it's interesting that Europe has a different set of standards. Huh. Trucker Hershey, hey man. How are you doing? Good to see you join in the chat. Shamu Live, have you ever driven any Mack trucks? I have driven Mack trucks. One of the first trucks I ever drove was an R model. It was kind of rough old girl, but man, it could be 40 below, and that thing would start every morning. So they were a good, tough, well-built truck. You don't see them a whole lot on the highway, although they seem to be coming back here lately. But they've been around, like the construction industry and the vocational industry for years. They're a good, solid, tough truck. I see their guys or their workers are out on strike right now. I'm sorry to see that. Oh, where did that go? I've lost him. Negus saying that Loves is still privately owned. Yeah, I thought as much, but stuff changes so quickly. David, just started out trucking and flatbed. Thanks for all the advice. Happy to help, David. Anytime. That's what we're here for. The Aussie Truckie. In Australia, we are only at Euro 5. I'm assuming he's talking about emissions equipment or emissions standards there. I'm going to have to research that a little more. I don't know anything about the European emission standards, but I'll have to check that out. Dean Tate has been on this planet for a while. I'm not sure who Dean Tate is, but glad to hear that he's been around. Trucker Hershey, $275K. Brianna again, what is a good trucking company to start with? Check out our website, Brianna, where we've just refreshed that and updated it here recently. So check out our website for all the information on the latest good carriers to work for. Muppet says, I love the old Superliner Magnum. Did you? They were, yeah, you don't hardly see those anymore. But yeah, they were a sturdy truck. They were a good truck. What's your take on hot shot truck drivers? Julio. It's such a vague industry. It's hard to define them because some of them, and it looks like it depends on the length of the equipment and the weight it can handle, but some of them don't even need a CDL apparently. And the other problem I have with hotshot truckers is that they seem to rely a lot on load brokers, because most customers will just ship on a tractor trailer rather than a little truck like that. But I don't really even consider that trucking, so I don't pay much attention to it. I understand the need for that type of a setup for farm boys moving their equipment around or hauling hay or something like that. But over the road use for hotshot, it doesn't appeal to me anyway. Oh, SoCal Sandman, the head guy at Loves just died last May or June, I think. I remember reading about that too. That's right. Yeah, Edwin. He started when horses were still pulling wagon trains. Yeah. I am Spartacus. A friend just started it at Swift. Did he make a mistake? It depends on what he's doing for Swift. I am not thrilled about their over-the-road division, but I've talked to guys that do like local work for Swift, and they're very happy. And since the Knight brothers took over Swift, I think it's improved it a whole lot just right there with that takeover or buyout or whatever you want to call it. So no, not necessarily. I'm leery of their over-the-road fleet, but I think the shorter stuff with Swift might be okay, the dedicated stuff. Yeah, Fred Besmer says hotshot trucks are dangerous every winter in Wyoming. Yeah. Yep. It's, I don't know whether it's the setup or the unskilled drivers or the weight distribution or what it is, but yeah, I know that's true. Trucker Hershey, please comment on he said he bought a 2019 Kenworth for $275,000. That seems, I know, Hershey, that the used truck market skyrocketed there about a year or so ago, and maybe that's when he bought it. I think the used truck prices have come down. You could get a new one today for like $275, and it'd be a pretty damn nice truck, as far as I know. It's buying a 2019 for $275. Maybe if he bought it, during the crunch during COVID when they couldn't get new trucks, maybe that's why. But other than that, it sounds high to me. Frank, I ran steel coil for Ryerson Steel in Vernon, California to Fresno and back every day for years. You know what? I remember them too, Ryerson Steel, and that'd be a good run. And yeah, you'd be popping over the grapevine a fair bit. But yeah, with serious weight on too, hauling steel coils. Spartacus, he says he's driving regional. Regional for Swift, that might not be too bad. At least, I assume that regional will be home every night or every other night. So that might be all right. That might not be too bad. It's the long haul guys for Swift that seem to be in trouble all the time. Spartacus, thanks for your thoughts. Hey, man, more than welcome. David and Nicole Elfson, after my rollover in February, I now drive for my country. Love to get paid for all the hours, even if I don't work them, and get a pension. Yeah, that's one thing about, or drive for my county, he said, I'm sorry. But yeah, pensions are a great thing to get if you're in trucking and you can find a job with a pension. That's, especially the way things are going these days, I think that's a real bonus if you can go to work for like the township or the county or what David's saying here and have a pension built in and by the hour. I think that's almost the ideal job. I used to love over the road, but these days, if it was me, that's what I'd be doing too. Dan Sharp, Swift is a good company for training simply because they're one of the few that don't make you sign a contract that says you'll stay there. Dan, now that you mention that, I believe I did know that too, and that is true. I do not like those contracts. I don't like the whole setup of that. I think if you want an employee, you train him and pay him while he's being trained. I don't like those contracts at all. I know a lot of the big carriers like CR England do that. I am not in favor of that. David and Nicole again. Did you see Jay Leno drive a Tesla truck with a trailer? I didn't click on the video. I know it's out there. I have yet to watch it, but no, I want to watch it. I will after seeing your comment. I will look it up after the stream. Were rates ever good driving interstate in Canada? Finding loads into Canada is good, but coming back to the U.S. is a pain. The freight rates in Canada have never been as good as what they were in the States. The States just has a better concept of what trucks need to make to earn a living. So it's never been any raving hell in Canada. If we were running like all Canada, we used to just do total LTL because it was the only way to make money on the deal, was have 8 or 10 drops and make sure the revenue in the box was really high. But no, you were always better in the States. I know a lot of American friends of mine that would come into Toronto, empty out at the produce market, and then run empty back to Detroit. They wouldn't even look for a load in Canada. Once I bounced a 40,000-pound coil up on a front block of wood and slammed it back down on the rear block. No chains, no headache. Jesus. That would scare the hell out of me, Frank. I've seen guys killed with those coils if they loaded them suicide. I've seen a few of those. Oh, it's awful to look at. Fred, I'm a regional driver, North American region. Yeah, yeah. How is Martin Brower to work for? I understand they pay very well. They're very strict. They're very set in their ways. But I think it's a good job. It's union and pension plus matching up with the RRSP amount. Yeah, that's what I understand, that they are good to work for. I don't think they hire very often, so if you get a chance, check them out. Have you ever done a load into Rhode Island? Yes, I have. Not too often. I try to avoid the eastern seaboard, Edwin, but I've been into Rhode Island a couple of times. And I was always made out all right there, but I was always glad to leave. I'm not an East Coast guy. Frank says, I won $500 in bets. People were betting I'd die. Jesus. Frank, I'd have been scared to try that, you know. Jeez. Aussie Trucker, I bought my 2019 Kenworth K200 for $275,000 with 1 million kilometers on the clock. Those, I don't know. I'm not familiar with truck prices in Australia, but I can tell you that K200 cab over is one beautiful truck. We even did a little video or something on those when they first came out because I was so struck with the look. I wanted Kenworth. I was after Kenworth to build them over here if they were going to build them in Australia. Man, ship some over here, we'd buy them. Beautiful looking trucks. Mark Yates, I have always made more money staying local to regional. And especially these days, Mark, that is where the money is. Like I don't it's really tough now to make money over the road. It's all right if you're a team, you're on a steady deal with a good carrier, but just for like a guy like Swift, for instance, going out on the road and hopping shipment to shipment to shipment, those guys live out there and they're hardly making any money. So yeah, you've got to be really careful if you're going over the road anymore. It seems to be the money is more in regional these days than local. Junie Carter, I work for Martin Brower. The work is very hard, and the top guys still take all the good paying routes. Well, that's to be expected in a union company. That was one of the problems I always had with a union. The senior guys always got the best work, but if you can hang in there long enough and be a senior guy, I guess that's when it pays off. J.R. Wackett, my family has a Freightliner FL70 that has 90,000 miles on it with a 6-speed and a Cat 3126 business class. What's your opinion of this truck? What are you using it for? It would be my next question. I love the motor. Freightliner makes a good truck. You've just got to, be careful with it. They're not like a Mack. You can't bounce them off rocks, but good truck. The key ingredient for a good truck for me is the driveline. And when I see the Cat, I think that it's probably been a well-spec truck when it was built. So my guess is you've probably got a good truck there, and just keep it local. It's a business class truck, so that's what it's meant to do. But I think you'll be fine with it. SoCal says, Rhode Island and Maine are the only two states that I haven't been to. SoCal. I liked Maine. You had to go through Rhode Island to get to Maine if you were coming from the direction I used to. But I actually liked Maine. There was a nasty little hill in Bangor, Maine on the truck route there with a stoplight at the top that I still have nightmares about ripping my clutch out there. I didn't do it, but felt like I was going to. But Maine's a very pretty state, and I like stuff like that. It looks a lot like Canada. Lots of moose. You got to be careful. Stabs. Seen any of the Scanias that have been imported from Europe to Canada? Seems like Saskatchewan, and east of that. I have not seen one, and I'd love to see one, and I'd love to drive one. I think they're an amazing truck, but I have not seen one yet. Amondius, would you consider moving from trucking to dispatch? The workers' compensation companies seem to have a trucker to dispatcher pipeline established for injured truckers. Yeah, you know what? That's always been the way ever since I can remember. Yeah, if there are advantages to working in the office because you're home every night. You can pay more attention to your family. If it was the right carrier, I wouldn't be afraid to move into dispatch at all. Some of the best dispatchers I ever had were ex-truck drivers because they understood what you were going through. SoCal, Dave, I can say that since Forward and Omni joined forces that our overall freight volumes have increased. I haven't had a load cancel in quite a while. Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the reason they bought Omni was for the freight volume. I think it was a good move. I understand that a lot of the freight forwarders are worried now that Forward Air is going to steal their customers, but it's just business, Forward Air is just growing their business, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're in the business to make money. So, yep, good move as far as I'm concerned. The Aussie Truckies, 6x4 prime mover, 600 horse Cummins ISX X15 engine, 18-speed road Ranger transmission, airbag suspension. Wow, that sounds like quite the truck. That sounds nice. Local box truck freight in Dallas Fort Worth. Yes, J.R. Waka. Yeah, that's probably pretty good money. Alina Goddess, what do you think of the future LTL doubles looks like in the U.S.? Do they have them in Canada? I think they're there to stay, Alina. We have them in Canada. It seems, I don't know. If you're an LTL carrier, it just seems to be the setup they preferred. But yeah, I think they're here to stay. I'm not a big fan of them, especially the A-train setup, and that seems to be primarily what they are. But yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere. The LTL carriers like FedEx, for instance, they just have too much political pull. So I don't think they're going anywhere. Dean Tate, interested in Class 8 expedited truck with factory sleepers. Dean, I've never done any of that. I've never known really anybody that has done that. So I don't even know what to tell you with those things. I see them. I see they do a lot of air freight and stuff like that, like high-speed moves. And it might be pretty interesting stuff. I don't know, what their source of freight is, who they rely on to load them. Maybe big carriers, but I don't know a whole lot about that. But it looks like just like a typical trucker's life. Sit for a couple days and run like hell. Kenneth Snyder, for the moment I'm running a single day mileage in 3 days over the weekend. 477 miles per day, minimum 7.4 miles per gallon, 42 miles per hour, lighter loads 8.8 to 9.3. That sounds like you're doing all right. I think lighter loads 8.8 to 9.3. That's pretty respectable mileage. And man, with the fuel the way it is these days, if you can get that kind of mileage, Kenneth, you're doing all right. David Nicole. Dave, there's a YouTube channel that bought a Scania cab over and he's in Florida. Huh. I'll have to look for that. You don't know the name of the channel. Let me know if you do. But yeah, I'd like to look at that. For emissions laws, the Scanias are Cali compliant, and Oshkosh Striker fire trucks have them. Well, I know Oshkosh. Huh. I'll have to keep my eyes open. Brianna, is CFI a good company to start with? I have never heard anything really bad about CFI. I think CFI is a good carrier from everything I've heard. Trucker Rick, with so many companies filing for bankruptcy, makes me wonder if it's time to get out while the getting is good. Trucker Rick, if you're with a good carrier, I don't think you've got anything to worry about, but keep your eye to the ground, your ears to the ground too. It's, you don't know. But the world needs trucks, so you can't get rid of them all. They can't all go broke. And the good ones, the established ones, I don't think they're going anywhere. But pay attention to what's going on at your carrier. Carlos, what's your take on FedEx ground contractor companies? Do you think it's easy to become one? And do you know the steps for becoming one? Most of the sources say it's profitable, but I'm not sure. Carlos, I am leery of FedEx ground freight. Once upon a time, they were a good bet, but they've had a lot of trouble in the last couple of years. I'm not sure I'd want to lock in with them, frankly. I think they have kind of a seniority thing too. It depends on the run that you get. And my impression is that usually the guys starting out get the crap runs and suffer financially for it. So I'd be leery of them, Carlos. I'd be checking on others just to make sure, but not my first choice. Not my first choice. Greetings from Cherry Valley, Illinois. Finally made it to a live. I'm in trucking school right now. Finally got past the sleeping instructor this week. This is Truck Freak. Congratulations, man. Good. I'm sure you'll enjoy trucking. Pay attention to the carrier that you're going to go to. So good luck. Enjoy. And don't get pushed around by the big carriers. Go to a good carrier. Oh, here's David Ann. Bruce Wilson is the YouTube channel. Oh, yes. I have seen Bruce Wilson. I don't know what to make of him, but I'll look for the one with the Scania. You know what? I think I did watch that one. Wasn't he beating the hell out of the truck? I think I have a problem with that. Mind you, it was an older truck, a red and white one, if I recall. But yeah, I don't like people that abuse equipment. I know he was just doing it for a laugh. The high flyers. I'm Iowa, Missouri area livestock drivers, home every day and making good money here. I always wanted to try livestock. I never ran livestock. I'd pull into the truck stops at night for a sleep, and I'd look over at the livestock guys, and their trailers were always rocking and rolling as the cattle walked around in the trailer. I don't know how those guys slept at night, but I never did try it. I noticed too that when for a while the bull rack guys or the cattle rack guys were ELD exempt, and I kind of like that. I think they ended that now here recently, but yeah, something I would have liked to have tried. The one of the guys that taught me early on to drive was a friend of my dad's, and he was a cattle hauler. That was a long time ago. But those guys would go for days. They'd drive for days. William Watt. Dave, can you address the bright light issue out here? Get them to turn them off. Oh, you mean that some of the carriers, some of the big carriers run with their high beams on? Is that what you're talking about? I've noticed that's been a problem with a lot of the big carriers, and I don't know if the headlights are so poorly set up that they have to use the brights to see where they're going, or I don't know if they just don't realize that they're on. But yeah, I have noticed that, and that's and even up here lately, it used to be you'd never, even on a 4-lane road with a median strip, you'd never run your high beams at some guy coming the other direction. You always dimmed them down. But I noticed that more and more guys don't do that anymore, and I think that's a loss of professionalism in the industry. It's common courtesy to dim your lights and keep the run dim unless there's absolutely no one around. Then you can run your high beams. And if you can't see, and if it's dark out, just go slow enough that you're not outrunning your low beams. You don't want to be blinding the guys coming at you and the guys parked in front of you running. So, yeah, it's a matter of professionalism. Alexander Palmer, what do you think about strapping a truck and reefer for pulling out of Michigan? I'd like to build 5 trucks and 35. Been driving semis since I was 16 on the farm. Michigan used to be a good source for freight. There used to be all sorts of freight in Michigan. I think if you kept your outfit small, I think you'd do all right there. I used to know a lot of single guys that ran out of Michigan, and man, a lot of them would load apples out of Michigan in the good weather. But there was steel case freight. There was lots of freight in Michigan. Andy, which company is better for new drivers, Werner or Swift? You know, both those carriers have numerous yards, and my understanding is that it depends as much on the yard as the carrier. So I can't give you an honest answer. Go to the 2 yards that are closest to you and see for yourself which you think look like it's in better shape, more professionally operated. They're both, they're both pretty good carriers. You're not going to get rich at either one of them for a new guy, but you'd have to check out the terminal that you were going to operate out of. Leon Trimble, how about these, I'm going to say guys, running around with fog lights on all the time, almost as bad as high beams. Yeah, Leon, I hate that. And I think it is as bad as high beams. And some of them are worse than high beams. So, yep, I hate that. It seems to be a new fashion statement that I've noticed out there, but yeah, I don't like that at all. Completely unprofessional. David and Nicole, after 28 years trucking, I now do a dump truck spreading gravel for my county. No logs hours, pay every school holiday off, and a pension driving job. Yeah, I think David, you've fallen into a nice career there. Not bad work. I did a little bit of that, spreading gravel for a summer, and I like that. I enjoyed that job. Kenneth, use my Jake brake going downhill with brakes to assist only. That's the way I like to do it, Kenneth. I let the Jake do all the work, touch the brakes occasionally so that they don't heat up, and just go down slow. That's the way I do it. I was transporting an RV from Iowa to Dallas. This is J.R. Waka. And all the big rigs had their highs on. Never turned them down. Yeah, there are an awful lot of new drivers on the highway, and I don't know if they just don't know any better, but yeah, I've noticed an increase in that. Werner has a lot of dry freight, and Swift has 3 different divisions. Yeah, no, both carriers have an awful lot of freight. So now you'll be busy there. There's no doubt of that, and that's important. What about SoCal? What about those stupid bright light bars that some of these yahoos are leaving on all the time? I think those should be illegal. I think those are meant for off-road. I don't think that a light bar on the interstate should be legal at all. But yeah, I have seen a few of those. The Aussie Truckie. In Australia, our standard road trains are 3 48-foot trailers. I'd love to try that. And I want to say they're like an 8 train setup, like a Pindle hitch, are they not, Aussie Trucker? Gear Jammer, stop flashing high beams to let me over. Gear Jammer, that was always a pet peeve of mine, but the new trucks now, they eliminated, they all have daytime running lights, so they eliminated the on-off switch. It used to be you just flick your headlights on and off, and not the high beams, just the low beams, but yeah, the truck manufacturers and the regulations have kind of ruined that. Daytime running lights. Although I have to say, I thought when that came out it was stupid, but I've seen the statistics that the daytime running lights are, preventing accidents. I think if people are paying attention, they don't need daytime running lights, but you know how paying attention goes. Most of the four-wheelers don't. They're on their phones. Dan Sharp, I got my CDL 9 years ago today, exactly. And I can honestly say, except for my flatbed training, I have learned more from this channel in 4 years than I have anywhere else. Training is seriously lacking. Well, Dan, thank you for saying that. And that has always been our take, too. It's amazing how many of these guys hit the road when the CDL schools kick them out and they're just lost. And I feel so bad for those guys because there's so much to know and so many mistakes that you can make that can get you or somebody else killed. I just can't believe that they allow them that poorly trained on the highways, and that's part of what we're about. But yep, I appreciate you saying that about us. I thank you for that. Brianna Walsh, when I became a trucker, when I become a trucker, should I have a CB in my truck? Brianna, you've got to have a CB in your truck. I stand by that. Even if you just listen to it, sometimes you can find out where the accidents are. That would have saved lives in Wyoming a couple winters ago if those people had all been paying attention to their CBs, because they would have heard that there was a wreck up ahead. I think they're an important tool. I know people don't use them enough anymore, but I think they're vital. Aussie Trucker. 3 standard 48-foot trailers with 2 converter dollies. Yeah, A-trains. What I would call an A-train setup. SoCal. Swift divisions rolled into ditch. Truck stop Paris, stuck in the median while doing illegal U-turns, falling GPS into the woods. Into the woods division. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone trying to do a U-turn on an interstate. We had a major accident up here years ago, where a guy with a flatbed tried to do a U-turn through the ditch at night. A tanker struck him, and the heat and the explosion was so that it killed both truckers, a couple of people in 4-wheelers, and it melted the bridge, the overpass on the highway. It was bloody awful. Who in God's green earth would try to do a U-turn on an interstate? But I see it on YouTube all the time.
Kenneth Schneider coming in with the $20 donation. Thank you so much for that. He says he's always taken your advice to heart. You've helped him professionally throughout his career, although professionalism is rare to find these days. Couldn't agree more, and thank you again for the $20, Kenneth.
Kenneth, thank you for that. And I that makes my heart ache. I don't know where the professionalism has gone in this industry. I don't know why it's slid away. I don't know whether a lot of the old pros just retired, and why, the younger generation didn't adapt it. I don't understand what's gone wrong there. I know that trucking in most cases doesn't pay as well as it used to, and maybe some of the professionals left the industry because of the pay. I know some of them left because of the ELDs, but I am truly just sorry to see the loss of professionalism in the trucking industry. It breaks my heart. Fina says, I grew up in trucks, so it's easy for me. I drive this is Leon Trimble. I drive a 2-year-old international truck that has daytime lamps. I just run with my headlights on and use the headlight cancel button that's on the steering wheel when to come clear back over. Leon, I didn't know international trucks had that. I didn't know there was such a thing. That's a good thing. And that's a good way to do it. Good to know. Evan Eisman says the new automatics are nice, smooth as silk. I'm glad they're getting better. I only drove one for a year or so, but I didn't care for it. It bothered me. I was so used to the standard transmission, I guess, that maybe I just didn't adapt to it well. But I'm glad to hear they're working well anyway. What was I watching there the other day? Oh, it was Chase at Edison Motors, and he was talking about how Detroit's new automatic transmission, they won't sell you parts for it to fix it. They just make you replace the whole transmission, which is, that's an industry catch to make you spend more money for stuff you don't need. Got to buy a whole transmission when you only need a set of gears. Yeah, he was complaining about that, and I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. I believe it too.
All right, Chad, it's getting to be that time of night again. We'll just do a few more minutes of questions here, and then we'll wrap things up for the evening.
Okay. Nikki, had my trainer running my hours and not training me properly, kind of getting using me for the miles and help. Yeah, this was at Melton. All sorts of trainers seem to have caught on to that. Use the trainee to make more miles and make more money. That's why they do it, and that's part of the problem I have with that system. I don't think it's right. I think they should. Those big carriers should revamp their training, because I just don't think it's safe, and a lot of them A lot of them do it that way. I don't agree with it. CR England does it that way. Warner does it that way. I think that could stand some improvement. Anyway, just wanted to remind you guys before I go that to join, be a member here at Smart Trucking. We've got a couple different levels of membership. We've got exclusive videos if you join the top membership tier, so I recommend that. You've probably noticed we've been working, and Kathy has developed a new logo, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks pretty sharp. We've got our Friday video coming out, our usual Friday video, and I'm going to talk about speed limiters because after 6 years, it looks like they're finally going to mandate them. The ATA has been asking for it for years, and it's all a political thing, but it looks like they're finally going to get their wish. That's going to be your Christmas present from the FMCSA, so check out our videos. Wolf Train Services, sitting in Winterpeg, loading another antique truck tomorrow. Winter is here. 5.6 million miles on the old cat. Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive. And yeah, I heard winters in Western Canada this week, so enjoy. It's still nice in Ontario if you're headed this way.
All right, chat. Well, that has been the first stream back in quite some time. I want to take a minute to just thank you to everyone who came out to our first live stream after that's been at least a year. I want to thank our donators for this evening: Adam Bennett, Michael Thompson, Hamish K, JR, Kyle S, and Kenneth Schneider. Thank you to everyone who donated. And even if you didn't donate, thank you for coming out and participating in the chat this evening. We appreciate everyone who came out, and thank you for the patience and waiting for our live streams to return. So if that's it from me. I don't know if you have any other final thoughts, Dave.
I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be chatting with you guys again. So that's nice. Thank you for joining us.
Could you tell Kenneth Snyder how he could be a member, please?
Kenneth Snyder, you can just click on the join button below the screen there, and that will get you into our membership. But thank you guys all for joining us. Good chatting with you again. Stay safe. Keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the backhaul. Stay safe, everybody. Good night.